Welcome back. On this episode, I'm joined with Monica Challingsworth, the hospitality pro, restaurant consultant, and now co-founder of a really cool concept out of Arizona called Dink and Dine Pickle Park. On this episode, we talk with Monica about how she launched some of the top catering programs across some of the most beloved brands in the US and how she is starting this really cool new concept with an amazing team. Monica is a champ. She really does look for value-driven clients that she works with. And I got a chance to kind of learn more about her ethos and how failing forward has been the key to her success. So hope you enjoy. Monica, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm great.
Super stoked to talk to you. It sounds like you have a lot of exciting things that you're working on recently, a lot of big projects. But before we dive into what you're working on today and all these amazing grand releases, let's first learn more about you. We talked last week and I got a chance to just get the highlight reel of your career and your background in hospitality. But for some of my guests who don't know who you are, would you mind telling us a little about yourself and how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. Yes. So my name is Monica Challingsworth and I own Eustress Demeter, which is a restaurant consulting group. And we're also getting ready to open Dink and Dine Pickle Park in Mesa, Arizona. We are I think we're 75 days out. So
Nice.
really exciting. Yeah. We've been working on that project for 3.5 years now. So to be
Wow.
close to the finish line is really, really exciting.
I'll definitely, we'll talk more about that 3 year process. I want to hear more. How did you, so you didn't actually start with, this is your first concept that you ran yourself, right? But before that, correct me if I'm wrong, you were working at a ton of different brands and you got experience being on the operations catering side of things. Do you mind telling us a little bit about some of the earliest brands that you worked on and perhaps maybe how they were pivotal in your trajectory?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my degree is in hospitality and I went to college in Ohio and I moved out to California, I think like 2 days after I graduated. And I was very excited to get into the hospitality space, but I was just out of college. I wanted to have some fun. So still probably my favorite job was selling wine for a summer. So a girlfriend of mine, her and she had this little convertible. We drove around selling some actually pretty terrible wine. We had to like take the bottle, dump it into an empty bottle, take out all the sediment and put it back. And, it just kind of
Wow.
got me into, going into restaurants and meeting the managers, meeting the owners. And I just continue to fall in love with the industry. And my first kind of real job outside of that was Seasons 52, which is owned by Darden
Mm.
Restaurants.
Yep.
So I remember when I was interviewing with them, I think I was probably one of like 300 candidates, they said. And I really had no experience. I was right out of college and they were like, ugh, I don't know. Like, we're really taking a risk on this girl. But our president at the time, she was like a barnacle. Like, she was so like claws in to this job, and I had never wanted something so bad. I was so excited about the industry, so excited about working for Darden, and I was doing like private event sales at the time. And,
Okay.
growing up in Ohio and Pennsylvania, I didn't know that was a job, and I'm like, wait, this is perfect. So I plan parties for a living. I can network for a living and like still be in operations and the sales side. And that was what made me really, really love kind of this whole piece of it. And it was driving incremental revenue, putting programs together, still in sales, still in leadership. And from there, I went to Bottega Louis, which was really
Okay.
cool. I'm not sure if you're familiar
Oh,
with
you
that.
worked, of course, yeah. You worked
Yeah.
at some fun brands.
Very much. I loved it. Loved it. And same thing, it was all building these incremental revenue programs. So we started doing wedding cakes, our
Mm.
e-commerce program, catering. We were, I think, one of the first 3 brands to work with Uber Eats when Uber Eats was doing these deployments where they would pick up 100 lunchboxes from us and they would put Uber drivers all over the city and then turn on the platform. And it was kind of like this free for all that whoever could get these lunch boxes, they sold out within like 10 minutes. And
Wow.
then would come to the cars to pick them up from the drivers and be on their way. It was just one of the coolest things. So with Bottega, I really started getting into, how do we create programs that generate a ton of money for brands, but also is operationally feasible. I mean, granted, our team, when they're making 800 lunch boxes in the morning, didn't totally love me. So it took a while for us to really understand that piece and all be able to come together. And I was recruited to Lemonade by my mentor that I talk a lot about, Helen Lau. And I was brought on to Lemonade to build our catering programs. So we went from 800,000 to 5.6 million in just a year and a half, and just
In
dropped
catering alone.
catering alone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had an amazing team and we were growing, and it was incredible. So with that, catering was really new kind of in our space. So I had a couple groups reach out to me on LinkedIn to be like, how did you do this? Will you help us? But I was, employed by Lemonade at the time. So I could only really give some friendly advice. And we were acquired by Modern Market. And when that happened, the whole Lemonade leadership team was let go. And I found myself like, well, what do I do? And I figured I'd go back and get another real job, in the next like 6 months or something. And so I reached back out to those companies and said, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not a consultant. I don't like that word, but I can help you. In the meantime, I'm bored senseless. So let's do it. And honestly, that's how Eustress started.
Amazing. To kind of walk me through when you are thinking of, let's imagine we're working with a brand that doesn't have a catering program, right? That wants to, like you said, expand, diversify its revenue stream, right? And earn some more money. What would be kind of like the first step in figuring out if a catering program is feasible for that brand?
It's all about the people at the end of the day. So how aligned is the leadership team? Do they have the capacity to do it? I mean, even simple things of, do you have enough storage space for packaging? So there's
Right.
so many factors that go with it. Like we have a brand we're working with now, which is kind of cool. Their CFO is the CFO who brought me into kind of my first restaurant groups and was my CFO at Lemonade back in the day. And it's been fun to kind of see him in different size restaurants. And now he has a little passion project of just 2 smaller stores. And it's interesting how different like the other programs work, because they were these massive operations. They had a ton of people, tons of capacity. I mean, everything, the resources for the right technology tools, the everything. And now this one, they're small and they're hungry and they're growing, but they only really have, a couple team members who work in the restaurant every single day. They have their operator, but, he is already pulled really thin. So
Yeah,
now
for sure.
into like outside resources. So there's new catering connections that started, which are basically like an outside sales team. They don't have their own delivery drivers. So we've worked with Deliver That for years. So love bringing on all these other partners. And, I think over building this for, I don't know, whatever, 12-ish years, that now we really know like who the best partners are to help connect them. So if they're a smaller brand, but they have the eagerness to do this and the willingness to kind of put in the work, then we love working with them and helping, just put the right people in front of them. So whether it is a little mom and pop or, a massive operation, it all starts with the people.
I agree. And we talked about this before. It's for you. You mentioned that the types of clients that you want to take on with
Mhm.
Eustress and Demeter are not the ones that bring you the most money. You're looking for, you guys have been in the game for a while now, and you respect your sanity. So you want to work with up and coming brands that are led by good people, right? Maybe if my audience here is looking to get some help, what would be the type of client, customer, operator that you would want to work with? What is your criteria? Maybe you can tell us about one of your favorite clients that you've had in the past.
Absolutely. I'm a big gut feeling kind of person. So when I meet, it's usually the CFO, CEO who hire us. And, when we sit down, it's kind of a couple things I look for. Like, let's just say we go out to lunch and they are rude to our server, cut them off,
Yeah,
they're short, bad tipper, they're anything even remotely in that category, we won't take on the project.
that's a flag.
Yeah, I'll respectfully finish the meeting, but there's no world that we would want to work with them, or even if they just have a really poor reputation when it comes to how they treat their teams. So if we go in and we meet their teams and everybody's just
On guard, like
yeah,
scared.
yeah, or they're like, yeah, that's such a great way to put it. Like if they're terrified of a consultant coming in because they think they're going to get in trouble, or whatever, somebody's going to find something, or they're really defensive, like that just tells me that they're not ready for that. And I don't want to be the person who's making them uncomfortable. I'm not going to put my team in that. And it also tells me a lot about the leadership side. And if I know right out of the gate that we're never going to make this company happy, we could generate $5 million and they'll still find a way to, whatever, be unhappy in some form or another, then I don't want to do that. I feel like, we work really hard and our team are extremely hands-on. So we're like on the line with them. We're packing these boxes with them. We're going through that entire process. So if they're miserable, we left working under somebody for a reason and didn't want to go back to that, because now we do have the freedom to kind of choose who the people are that we want to work next to. And so I think that it really is like, how do you feel when you're around them? Do you want to be in the trenches with them? And do you want to spend all of this time? And there's definitely been very large companies with a lot of money that we've turned down, and we've collectively agreed as a group, we have our kickoffs and, we sit back and say, how do we feel about this? Like, do we feel good? Is this going to be something that we're all really excited to work on? Or do we feel like, we're going to leave at the end of the day and be exhausted and nobody's happy? And we've definitely on our side fired several brands because they're just not the right fit, but we've ended it really respectfully. And we've still gone out and like had drinks and stuff with them as people. But from a business standpoint, we are just not a good fit. And that is totally okay.
I love that. Firing your customers, right? Like you, as for us as a small company, at the beginning, you're trying to take on any opportunity that comes your way. But as you start to scale, you have more leverage, and you start to notice that certain customers that you started working with at the beginning might not be the best, might not be taking you down the best path, right? And they're not fun to work with. I would much rather work with someone that I like and someone that treats me with respect and sees me as a partner rather than just a tool to accomplish X, Y, and Z. So I love your philosophy. I absolutely love your philosophy. And has there been, without going into some of the bad ones, what has been some of your favorite projects that you've taken on? And I'm also curious, like, what types of initiatives do you help businesses with? Is it catering? Is it marketing? What are some of your projects that you've done with clients in the past?
Originally when we first started, it was all catering. So we built the catering program for Takaya, for Tartine, which we spoke about. And then,
Big fan.
True Food Kitchen, they were all kind of in right before COVID. And as soon as COVID hit, then, I even remember like, as a small business owner, totally panicking and being like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? Like, we have all these invoices open. They can't pay them. They don't know what's going to happen. I got to pay my team, but I don't know what's going to happen. And I emailed all of them and I said, do not pay our invoice. Just hold. I have no idea what's going on. You have no idea what's going on. You need to pay your team members first. I'm going to talk to my team. I will figure it out. We're not going anywhere. So let's just figure this out. And with all of them, we worked through like, okay, let's slowly see where we need to shift. Obviously, people aren't getting together in groups. So let's about third party. So, True Food and Tartine and all these brands are not really doing like DoorDash and Uber Eats at the time, but we need to pivot and we need to meet people where they are. And so we looked at, okay, do we do like the grocery kits? Do we do meal kits? How are we going to continue to keep our teams, but still be able to make money? And so we just shifted all of the clients that we were with. And in about probably 2 months, then, we all felt better. Everybody paid their bills. And they said you were the only vendor that we had that didn't like grab onto us and be like, you need to pay me right now. And all that stuff. And so I think that ended up building a much stronger partnership. So then we did new projects with True later on. And then that team went to Wetzel's Pretzels. We got to work with Wetzel's Pretzels to build out their food truck program. So now we've done a lot in the food truck space. Or Lowry's, we built Lowry's at Home, which are all of the prime rib meals shipped nationally. And that was a COVID project because they didn't want to let go of anybody in their teams, and they didn't have to because we were generating more revenue that way. So a lot of it's been, how do we pivot? Again, how do we work with the teams, the people, figure it out together, get in the trenches with them and make sure that, whatever we're creating, I want to say is successful. But, we had a really great barbecue brand out here with just best leadership team. They were so fun. They were amazing. We got to the very end of the project and we're getting ready to launch this, barbecue national shipping. And we looked at the numbers and I called the CEO and I'm like, guys, I actually don't think this is a good idea. After we look at like co-packing and packaging and the price point we want to stay in and who our guest is, I was like losing so much sleep over it because we're like, how do we tell them that all this money they've spent, all this time, all this everything, that it just isn't a good business decision? And it was
Yeah,
really funny because
that's tough.
they were so happy, so
Yeah,
happy. I couldn't believe
of
it.
course.
They're like, this has just always been something we wanted to try. And we did it. We accomplished it. We figured out, we answered every question we had. And now we know that it just isn't a good part of our business model. And this is great. Like, we're not upset at all. This has been such a fun project. The money was not wasted because we didn't have time to do it. You guys did it and then figured out that at the end of the day, the numbers just don't make sense. And then we ended up doing like 4 more projects with them on different things.
That's right.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
it was fun of like, oh my gosh, they're going to kill us. We failed, to like, you didn't fail. Like,
No,
numbers are
and
numbers.
I love that. I love that. That kind of reminds me. I took a class back in college. It was like one of these entrepreneurship accelerator classes where you get together with other students that are working on ideas. And
Mm-hmm.
the professor said there's 3 outcomes of this class, right? The first is you decide I'm going to keep working on my idea. I'm going to keep going. I got the steam to keep pushing forward. The second was to pivot, right? If you learned something along the way and you realize that your business model is not viable or there isn't the pain right in the market, then you should probably pivot. And the third one that always caught me by surprise is he said you can also decide to quit. And you can decide to stop, which for me didn't really make sense. I'm the type of person that you should keep going at all costs. But stepping back from something and realizing that, hey, maybe this isn't the right path for me. I think it's also a very powerful realization.
Yeah.
I don't see it as quitting. I see it as learning. So you learn along the way. And I'm sure that with the experience that you got with that one customer, you now understand like all the intricacies of co-packing, how difficult it is. And, you can go to another customer and actually kind of show them the numbers and be like, hey, in order for this to make sense, all of these things need to be true.
Absolutely.
Uh,
And I
I
love
love
the
that.
concept of like failing fast. And I believe,
Absolutely.
totally believe in that. This is, I guess, Dink and Dine is probably my 4th business now. And I've learned on early ones too. And I'm a very non-ego driven person. So like failure, I don't look at it as failure. So I'm like, okay, if we're going to fail fast, know exactly how much money you can put into something before it's not going to get over the finish line. Or if you truly can't be, the best in the industry and you don't have billions of dollars to, somehow get there,
To keep going, yeah.
you fail fast, and it is a great thing. It's a very powerful thing.
It is. And I think that's a good transition for us to talk about Dink and Dine. So 3 years, right? What was that journey like? Tell me about the inception of the idea and what you and your team have been working on these last couple of years.
Yes. So another COVID baby. My business partner Dave and I were speaking. I had COVID at the time and I was all cranky and sassy and I couldn't leave my house. And, we were talking about the projects we were working on and how challenging it was to, sometimes like fix the problems as opposed to, creating something right the first time. And, we were, part of it was like, gosh, wouldn't it be nice to like just do it right the first time? And then, and then we're also talking about all the things that we miss and being able to just be out and active. And Dave is a big pickleball tennis guy. And I had actually never played at the time. I do more now, but I was like, oh, pickleball. Yeah, I've heard of it. That sounds fun. And I'm like, gosh. And even my brother and his kids, like, I'm like, we're always looking for something fun to do, but we want to have some drinks and have some food and hang out and run around and not just like sit at a bar or sit at a restaurant. And so we started really thinking through what it is that we personally were looking for and the people around us that we knew would be looking for. And we just kind of started talking about this idea of pickleball mixed in with food and beverage. And And, Dink and Dine was really born from that. Our team, we call ourselves like the Eatertainment Dream Team because everybody are actual operators and we've all worked together on different projects in the past. So, like, our CFO is one of the largest CFOs for big restaurant brands. He brought me my first, like, I would say probably 5 or 6 clients on the Eustress side. So him and I, again, been in the trenches together. Kelly, our chef owner, he owns Bruxy, or did own, he sold at Bruxy's Chicken and Waffles. And him and
Big
I
fan.
worked on projects. And my Eustress team came over to help build everything from the operation side, marketing side. And so as we went on this journey, we were like, you know what? We are actually operators. We know how to do this. We know how to do this the right way, which is why it's taken so long, because we wanted to have a very strong foundation in place for us to continue to grow and scale from there. And there's been competitors of ours who are, real estate people who don't know anything about food and beverage, and that's their business model. And we've had others who were kind of neck and neck with us in growth, and they've since disappeared because they raised too much money too quickly, got over their too quickly, and didn't think about kind of all of the realizations that need to happen in order to do this slow and steady and not have a shaky foundation. So you have something very strong to grow from.
Yeah, I think that's it. I like what you just said there, right? You got to have a strong foundation because if you're taking a, you know, what every single time I go to like one of these massive like pickleball arenas, I see it as like a real estate play, right? You're buying out a massive factory or you're buying out a massive what used to be like a Sears or a Bloomingdale's, and you're converting it into a pickleball arena. And then if you're just adding food on top of it, have some drinks and food, and you're not actually putting in like thought into the menu, into the experience, it feels very artificial,
I
right?
could not agree with you more. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what are you thinking about in terms of the experience? Like, how do you envision if I was to walk into a Dink and Dine, what would I be looking at, right? Would I be coming in and would I be able to go and just only get food and drinks, or do I have to play some games in order to access the lounge and all that good stuff? Like,
No.
I'm trying to imagine what the experience would be like.
So we are all about community, people, having fun. So no, I mean, if you just want to come in and listen to live music, we're dog friendly, which is my favorite part. So
Nice.
if you want to bring your dog, come and sit in the park, listen to music and not spend any money, you are just as welcome as the person who is there to show up in the morning and play a game of pickleball, have lunch, play some games in the park, go to happy hour, play another game of pickleball, and then have a private event with us. So we want everybody to feel welcome. So we're not doing memberships. We do have a pretty amazing loyalty platform and program that we've built because we want to encourage frequency, but I don't want it to feel like it's a country club where,
Right.
Sue is
Interesting.
paying $200 a month and, Mark isn't paying anything and then he can't get on the courts. And so we don't want that. We want everybody to feel welcome and just to have a blast. So whether you're, you've never played or you are a seasoned pickleball player, our courts, which are really amazing. I mean, it's cost us a lot of money to build them. They are true like state of the art courts. And then we have like drone cameras for playbacks. We have
Wow.
computers signing in. It's all really, really cool. We have 2 indoor buildings. So our main pickleball building has 8 indoor courts and a bar restaurant in the middle of it. And then it's roll up doors onto our park. And then we have another building, which is called the clubhouse, that has 2 indoor courts, 3 private dining rooms, a lounge, and that opens up on the other side, like kind of behind the stage into the park. So everything is integrated and fun. And we have different price points, different menu options, different food concepts kind of throughout the park, lots of bars. It's just a fun, interactive, safe place to be.
I was with a guest a couple days ago talking about she doesn't like the concept of third spaces, but she calls it an everyday affair, right?
That's
I feel
fun.
like we don't have a lot of places these days other than maybe the gym or church if you go to church where you can just come together and it's you bring the community as you said, right? And you can just hang out and have a good time. And where is your first location is in Arizona, right?
Yes, Mesa, Arizona. Yeah,
Mesa,
we
Arizona.
we'll probably do several in Arizona, Boise. We've been in talks with several California locations, but California is very hard. I
Really
mean,
tough. We both from California. We know.
yeah, and we're large. We're looking for like 3 acres, so it's
Wow.
a lot of land. And what we had assumed, and what our competitors who are no longer competing found, is the ground up builds are just astronomical. The time that it takes. So we are looking for a retrofit, but like you said, about these like big box stores, we won't go into those because there's no park space. And then it's just this
Right.
big, loud pickleball gymnasium, and that's not us.
I
So we
see.
are selective in where we're going, and staying true to our brand and our concept is very important. And so it might take us a little bit longer to get to, 10 units, but we're going to do it right, and we're going to be thoughtful as we do. But Mesa will be the first one, so we'll find out in a couple months.
Amazing. Amazing. You're going live. The grand opening is in 75 days. What are you doing to prepare for that?
Well, I'll be out there
And
next week.
am I invited? That's the
Yeah,
question.
of course, everybody is. Yeah. So, well, and it's going to be summertime in Arizona, so we kind of have like a phased opening. So our 2 indoor buildings, like I mentioned, will be opening, and then the park. Like if somebody still wanted to play on our outdoor courts, they can. We have 3 outdoor courts, but it's going to be 115 degrees in Arizona. So then October 11th is the date right now. I hope it doesn't change, but that's kind of what we're planning. Is now the full, like the park is open, and we have it's called the Dink Dive, which is like a outdoor smoker barbecue concept that will be going. I mean, everything will be engaged throughout the park. So that's the date I'm most looking forward to. Like my family is coming out, like my dad's coming out from Pennsylvania, everybody from California. We're gonna get a big house, and and I want to be there to actually enjoy that day and not be working it. I'm going to be a guest and having fun and
All
bringing
the
our.
fruits of your labor. Just enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yes. Yeah. My family
Amazing.
has worked very hard to support me over the last 3.5 years emotionally and mentally with all this. So I want to enjoy it with them and just have fun.
Amazing. Well, Monica, you've had an amazing, career in hospitality. I'm sure you've helped hundreds and hundreds of operators and staff members, and the work that you've done on, the consulting side, and now with your own concept is fantastic. And I just want to say thank you for all the hard work you've done to make a difference in this industry. And I think now that you're entering this new chapter, your fourth business, and what I think is a very difficult concept to execute well, I wish you the best of luck. And where
Yeah.
can our audience find you? Where can we find you, and how can we join this movement that you're starting?
Absolutely. So I am still doing Eustress Demeter. I don't think I will ever give that up. It is my baby. I love it. So eustressdemeter.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, and anybody can find me there, or Dink and Dine Pickle Park. And again, we're opening in Mesa, Arizona this coming summer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Monica. Have a
Thank
good
you.
rest of your day.
You
Bye bye.
too.